Hello everybody, welcome back to Apple Gaming SE, and we are back doing some performance analysis with Wuthering Waves and Xcode's instruments, so we can take a look at performance. So if you watched my Death Stranding video, I think I'm going to try a new approach that allows us a little more granularity of the data that we're looking at, and hopefully will in fact, where's my keyboard not working? will in fact us to see the data a little more cleanly. So I'm zoomed in really close right now. So what I'm going to do is basically, as we go through Wuthering Waves in its passive and active cooled performance, if we come across an area that's particularly interesting with the frame rate, like over here, or the CPU, we will then move this recording I made of the gameplay to that point to see what's going on and just kind of get an idea of what's happening. So with that being said, we will zoom back in just a little bit here, and I will go back and forth and show you what I'm talking about as we come to it. So in looking at our performance graph, I think our first thing we notice is this drop to 53%. One thing I do want to note is actually here looking at core animation FPS, the GPU is consistently at 90% or better. Now I am at maximum settings on Wuthering Waves. I went through all of the settings and manually set them to their highest that they will go. The iPhone is very difficult to hold. I have it actually in a stand and I'm kind of holding the edges of the iPhone as little as possible to avoid burning my hands. I really don't recommend you play the game this way. It's probably unsafe long term. Unfortunately, they don't have a controller. They don't have controller support on iOS, so that's unfortunate. You could put a case on it, but then you're just insulating the heat of the phone. So I don't think that there's a great way to play this on iOS without setting up some kind of pseudo touchscreen interface through a Mac OS app or something to that effect. All of that aside, let's look at performance. That's what we're here for. So, pretty good performance right through the first almost 2 minutes. We get down to 46 FPS here, just under 2 minutes in. So let's see where we're at. Okay, so this is actually a fair ways into it. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit here so it does not deafen you. And I'll probably get a little background volume if I can. Not too much, just enough to make it useful. Turn up QuickTime just a little bit. So as we're actually, what I was doing here, as we're rotating around, and if you look right through here on this river, you'll see this screen space reflection kind of effect happening. So if you look at it, you'll notice the trees pop in and out depending on where the camera is positioned. So they're using SSR for the water reflectivity, which is not altogether unexpected. It's not really a bad effect. These things are pretty typical. And you can see it here as we get closer to the water. You'll notice it here as well. So as we are going in, we're about a little more than a minute in. You'll notice, if you notice around the edges of the character, you'll see that screen space reflection occurring there as some distortions and artifacting from the SSR. Like, oh, just right there. Let's see, can I back this up? I don't know if I can like tap. Yeah, I can do frame by frame. Sweet. So sorry about you can kind of see it pretty good right here where his head was occupying that area and his shoulders, and now it's got this blue kind of mark behind it. It's a ghosting effect. Like you can see it right there as well. Oh, you can see it on the arms. Look at that. Oh, good stop on my part. So you can see it's really present right here. And you'll notice also more SSR effects right here. None of this is ray traced at all. This is all screen space reflections. But you'll notice that the cherry blossoms down there will come in and out of effect, or in and out as the camera moves up and down. I didn't do it right there, but if you actually tilt the camera up and down, they will actually appear and disappear. So there you go, they're gone, now they're back. It looks good, like in a still image, it probably looks really good. And I don't think the water looks bad by any stretch. These are very Chinese names. Wuthering Waves is a It's kind of like a Chinese version of Honkai Star Rail. I don't know. Is HoYoverse a Chinese company? This feels like a knockoff. Like, it feels like a competitor to HoYoverse is what it feels like. So right here at 154, this is about where we are. So still heavy CPU utilization. If we're actually looking down at the lower graphs, this is interesting to me that the efficiency cores, and that's cores 0 through 3 are the efficiency cores, are not so heavily utilized. I mean, they're more heavily utilized, but like the performance core 1 is not, that's CPU 4 is the first performance core, is not really utilized at all right here, but performance core 2, that CPU 5, is heavily utilized pretty much all the way through. So it's like it's got a dedicated process thread on this particular core. And so I'm guessing there's a lot of the SSR post-processing occurs on these efficiency cores. They get offloaded. But right through here you can see where the second performance core steps up and the efficiency cores all dump their code out into the other performance core. So as we continue forward, it's pretty consistent through and through. A little bit of a bump here down to 47 at what, 220-ish? What's 220? Is that, I may have started a fight. Yeah. So right about here is when I got into a fight with these things. Whatever they are, they're immune to my attacks. So I was like, I better get out of here. Spectro prisms. Yeah, so I was like, I better get lost. 50 FPS, so kind of right through there. And then let's see, 50 FPS again at 255 because I decided I wanted to go fight the bear. It looks like they aggroed on the bear, which I thought was interesting. Cool effect. I guess I decided I was going to fight the bear. What happens at 255? It's definitely smooth a lot of the time. Oh, is it doing a special attack there? Yeah, that's what it looks like. Right through there for a few seconds. It's probably special attack and switching characters. So again, performance core number 2, CPU 5 is still heavily engaged there. GPU heavily engaged all the way through. This is an interesting spot right here about 340. We see a lot of drop off. What happens at 340? Oh, I was going into my, yeah, okay. I was going into my inventory to see what items I had for healing. So that's why you see a big CPU drop off here, because it's not needed. Look at that. Utilization's super low, and then not even halfway utilized here in some of these sections. Very low, 25% and less. So yeah, that's just. And notice how when that happened on the CPUs here, like you have a big spike here on this transition at what, 344, 345? What is this? Right here, 344? What happened there? So that, oh, that's right when I came into the menu. So I guess it was loading whatever the back end code is for the menu. I was looking around, I couldn't find the backpack at first. So looks like here, the performance cores are still a little more heavily utilized, only 65% or so, than the efficiency cores. And I guess it drops the frame rate into the 30s because you don't really need it to be higher than that. So I'm wondering if the animations pick up. So this is probably like a power saving mechanism right here. So we'll say 4 minutes. What happens there at 4 minutes? So I'm scrolling through this, and then a few seconds later, I think I try to use it and it fails. Yeah, because you can't use that on down rovers or whatever they're called, resonators. So yeah, that's interesting right there. I mean, it's good. It's good that they're going to go, into power saving mode. And then we have a lot of this handoff here, starting at 4:11 through about 5.5 minutes, where we are running through, grabbing items. Performance is still pretty good. I mean, we got a couple dips here and there at 4:47. Not sure what happened there. Oh, these things there. I was trying to figure out what those were, so I run around and chase those for a minute. But yeah, it's handing off between the two pretty consistently for a while here. About 5.5 minutes, it starts evenly loading out. But you also see a huge start. So starting about right here, what is this? This is 554. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump ahead to 554. Okay, I was fighting these hogs. We see a pretty protracted set of, we'll say, sub 60 performance here. Still looks like 40 was the lowest. But generally speaking, that was about it. So between 40 and 60, and then again, right through here, again, the CPU temperature this whole time is in serious thermal state. Unfortunately, they don't give you any extra information, so I don't know how hot my CPU is getting. Apple just doesn't allow that level of granularity for these tools, or I don't have the know-how to make it something intelligent. So, again, low GPU usage here. A lot of low GPU usage starting about 7 minutes. What's going on at 7 minutes? So this is the fighting here. So this is where you can see it in the performance, how it's just a little bit choppier. It's not quite as smooth as a solid 60 or 58, 59. So starting at 7 minutes, what's going on here at 7 minutes? Oh, yeah, I started a challenge and then ran away from it. You have 2 cores heavily engaged right here. Again, going back to efficiency cores, but the performance cores are still engaged. And kind of stays that way through the rest of the trial. There's a lot of handoff here back and forth. Overall, I think it's a pretty good showing for what we have as far as the performance of Wuthering Waves on the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, if we look at statistics here, average is 55 FPS, pretty good. I don't like these standard deviations. Where's the standard? Yeah, okay. So average for FPS, max FPS is 60, minimum GPU usage is 16%, max is 94%, average is 70. See, this is where the minimum GPU usage and the menu there, going back to here, when I'm in the menu and it pulls down the minimum GPU utilization quite a lot, that kind of throws this number off. I think it's pretty obvious that for the most part, I say that, there's a huge section right through here where it's, I'm thinking about it. This actually might make a lot of sense. It's something like right here and down, if we look, it's kind of at or above 50 FPS because it's probably trying to load balance and manage the heat from the CPUs and the GPUs running is probably what it's doing. So it's actually probably downclocking the GPU. Because earlier in the run, you'll notice we had high 90s all the way through. And then when we stopped to go into the menu, that's when we noticed GPU utilization drop. Yeah, you can see it's struggling to maintain that close to 60 FPS. So that's Wuthering Waves passively cooled. And in our next section, we'll look at it actively cooled. So we're going to let the phone cool down. We're going to come back and take a look at it here in a little bit. All right, here we are with part 2 of the actively cooled performance. Again, have Xcode and instruments up, and we have our gameplay recording over the same time frame. This is after I let the, I don't know how long it's been. I let it sit for maybe 10 minutes or so with the active cooler on it to cool the phone off a little bit. But I didn't turn the phone off. I just let the cooler bring the temperatures down a bit. So what we'll immediately notice, just looking at the graph, is that we were at nominal temperatures for 1.12 minutes. That's 1.7 seconds. And then we went to fair. And we were fair temperatures all the way through the rest of the run. So this is definitely making the iPhone 15 Pro work harder than Death Stranding did. If you saw that video, you will recall that Death Stranding was pretty much in a GPU utilization 65 to 70% basically through the entire run because the game is capped at 30 FPS. So it did not get nearly as warm, and it was showing as nominal when actively cooled. So here, not a whole lot to report. I think what the most interesting thing here is that the performance cores are much more readily engaged when the system is actively cooled. We saw the same thing in Death Stranding, but not really to the same degree. There's a couple spots here that are interesting in that the GPU utilization comes down quite a bit. So you'll notice here in some areas it's dropping. So let's start taking a look at about 330. And so I started actually the gameplay about the same place as before, where it was at this Memento, I forget, Memento Park, Memento Circle, something like that. So we could come up to this cliff and we could look down over the cliff. And I was using her as the main character to help me visually distinguish the two videos. So we've got looking around, waterfalls, things like that. I had actually done a run here where I kind of went down there and did that, but I didn't have Xcode running, so I had 5 minutes of video that I couldn't use. So I just gave the iPhone a little bit of time to cool off, and then we started over. So that's the behind-the-scenes magic there. Anyway, flying in, pretty consistent. So where are we going? We're going to about the 3-minute mark, 3:30 we said. So looking pretty good up until 3:30. What happens at 3:30? I'm fighting these guys, these prisms, and I beat the prisms, and I go to run up the hill. That's right, I remember this. I was running up the hill, and it was like there was a slight stutter and frame drop. It wasn't, and you can see it here in the gameplay. It's not super noticeable. Actually, no, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. There's GPU utilization issues here, but there's no frame drop. That's what it is. This is a different part I'm thinking of. Some grass got in the way, and it created this weird alpha effect on the screen, and the performance dropped. Maybe here about the 5-minute mark, but yeah, right through here, GPU utilization drops for a while. About 350, which we are well past at this point. Again, dropping down again. I guess because there's no enemies on screen, so those assets have been taken out of the memory buffer. And then I come down here and I fight some turtles. Okay, this is where I think it happens, where we were at 5:15, so yeah, just before 5:15. Let's go back right around here. So this is... Oh, okay, I went to the map. Okay, no, there was something that happened graphically. Like there was a frame stutter. You can see a little bit of a performance drop. You can tell here in the map it's actually not 60 FPS. And as I start to run up this mountain, I think there it is. There's a little hitch right there, and I'm not sure what that was. I'm guessing it was loading assets in. Right about here, yeah. Okay, 525. Where is that? That did not register in the performance. Like it did before then. It dropped down to 39 FPS at 520. But I don't see that on the screen. It must be because we're here. This is what it is. It's the map. And so it's just ramping the frame back up after. Okay, so that's not actually a graphics stutter there. That's just loading assets in. So if I had device IO on for Xcode, I wonder if that would have registered then. But again, pretty consistent overall, better performance, looks better, feels better, plays better. I can tell you just from where about is this? This 70C, we're still high, 757. So where is that? 7. Can we notice this though in the gameplay? I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see the performance dip right there, even though it was logged in Xcode. It's a very shallow dip. I mean, you can see it right here on the CPU graph. Let me zoom in here a tad. So you can see where the CPU is pretty heavily engaged, and then the performance cores kind of drop there for a second, and that's when this couple seconds, about 2 seconds, that's where that occurs, but it's not noticeable. So again, you have CPU performance dropping right through here as well, and GPU performance but you're not seeing any kind of meaningful frame loss right through here. So I mean, there's a few seconds, spots here and there. If we take a look over at statistics, let's get our standard deviations. Those are not helpful to me for this kind of purpose. Average FPS up to 58.3%. We never hit 0% GPU utilization this time, so that's good. Or what was it? 16%. So it was more. So the GPU was more engaged, I should say. So we didn't hit 16%. We hit 30%. Though I was thinking of minimum FPS there a second ago. And then average GPU utilization is 78.1, so about 11% better over here. That's good. So yeah, I think definitely Wuthering Waves is, I'm not sure what this is referring to down here, the app lifecycle stuff, because it's unknown, and then it goes over CPU budget, and then it's unknown again for the rest of the video. So I'm not sure on that one. Something else I gotta look into. There's a ton of stuff in here that I am just not versed enough to comment on. So I'm using that mostly just as a general CPU utilization metric. So with that being said, definitely play it with an active cooler like the Black Shark. There's other brands on Amazon that are probably just as good. I think having something on your phone to help keep it cool for heavy gaming is better than nothing at all. Personally, I would probably play this at like the 60 FPS medium. I probably wouldn't go high on an iPhone 15 Pro. Just my opinion. But if you are going to do maxed out graphics, definitely do it with an active cooler. It's much easier to hold. No concerns at all about any kind of potentially burning your fingertips here. So with that being said, I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. Please like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Take care now. Bye-bye.